everybody, it's Melissa, and I just got off a really good YouTube live where we were talking about fragrances that strangers have complimented us on. And it's always something special when you receive a compliment from somebody you know, but it's even more special when you're receiving a compliment from somebody that you don't know that decided to stop you in your tracks to ask you what you're wearing and to just tell you that you smell fantastic. As always, discount codes, discount links for these fragrances gonna be in the comment section below. It's gonna be pinned. And by the way, that is an affiliate link, the one for the massive sale that's happening right now. That one ends on Sunday, March 17th. So please buy where you're comfortable. And the same thing with the codes that I'll be putting there as well. All right. So I do get a slight bit of commission if you were to use the code for some of the brands that I'm going to mention. So do with that information as you will, whether you want to support or you want to buy it elsewhere. All right. So the very first fragrance I'm going to mention is Oudwood by Tom Ford. And Oudwood is a fragrance that so many people have told me that you can only wear it at nighttime. You're not supposed to wear that in the daytime. I got my compliment on this fragrance when it was 70 to 75 degrees outside. I was wearing a white shirt and I went to Target to return something, or it was either I had to return something or I had to get something all the way at the back of the store. Either way, I was brisk walking and I passed by this group of 3 girls and they were like, "Oh my God, you smell so good," when I passed by them. So I was like, "Oh, thank you so much." This was that fragrance. I wouldn't have had that experience if I listened to people online saying when and where I should wear something. You know what I mean? So even if you want to, if you see a fragrance and people are saying one thing or another, it's totally up to you on if you want to try it in high heat, if you want to try it when it's warm. Don't let the internet dictate what you do with your experiences or how you want to try things. All right. But Oudwood doesn't smell like oud. It's a very woody fragrance. It smells like clean wood. And to me, I just love the likability of it. And I love that it doesn't really smell like oud. This is the very first oud fragrance that I actually liked. And even until now, when I smell this, I'm like, it's sexy. It's unique. People are still going to be on the internet saying that it's basic and it's overrated at this point. But I hardly smell Oudwood in person. I have never smelled it on anybody else ever. And that's in highly populated cities, in the suburbs. So remember, the internet's opinion is not the same as what you're going to get in person. All right. Very, very big difference there. The next fragrance I'm going to mention is Salt and Pepper by Precious Liquid. And y'all, you better be ready to strap in, okay? Because the Precious Liquid fragrances are absolute bangers. And I want to specify, this is not a sponsored video, okay? Because I have like a decent amount of Precious Liquid scents in this lineup. And all of these experiences I have documented on my channel. So there's videos of the day that these compliments happen that you can check back on if you want. But Salt and Pepper is probably my most complimented fragrance from strangers, specifically when it comes to women. No joke, the very first few times I was wearing this fragrance, whenever I would step out and be around women, whether it's women I knew or strangers in passing, they would compliment this fragrance. The one that really sticks to my mind is when I was at Costco and I just passed by the entrance, and you know how it has like not a blow dryer, but you know, it's blowing like air by the entrance. And I was there with my cart. I was by the TV section, and I just hear this, "Excuse me," and this tap on my shoulder. And this lady is like, "You smell so good." I was like, "Oh, thank you so much." And she says, "Can you tell me what you're wearing? I love the smell of it." She's like, "I don't know. I'm sorry if this comes across weird, me asking you this and all of that, but I just had to tell you." And she had her phone out, so she was on her notes app. And I said, "It's called Salt and Pepper by Precious Liquid." And she gave me the most puzzled look on her face. She was like, What is that? Can I find that at Sephora?" And I said, "No, it's a niche fragrance." And then she looked even more confused. And I said, "Okay, that's not really helping." And she says, "Niche fragrances? Is that the brand?" Or she had no idea what niche fragrance meant in the first place. So I kind of had to explain that they're not like the designer scents. A lot of the times you are going to have to find them online. For instance, the one I'm wearing right now, all I know is that they sell online in maybe one store in Florida, right? And she was like, "Oh, okay, so is it like how do I get my hands on it? Is there a wait list?" And she was just kind of very confused with it. And she's like, I want to get that for my partner. And I look over kind of where she's like not pointing, but just gestures her arm. And I see it's either her boyfriend or her husband by the empty cart right there. And he was chilling. And I was just telling him like, yeah, you would have to kind of get it on the brand's website. But she was like, oh, okay. But that's the thing. When it comes to niche fragrances, y'all, you never have to gatekeep them really, especially with brands like Precious Liquid. People don't know how to get them. Even if they know of Neiman Marcus and Nordstrom, you're not going to find this brand at Neiman Marcus or Nordstrom. Now, there are other experiences from my followers, like the one I told you guys about on live, where he bought this fragrance off my recommendation and he went to the bars, either bars or clubs with his friends, and the rest of the guys in his group were wearing either Dior Sauvage, Bleu de Chanel, or Creed Aventus. And he said that night he was getting so many compliments from women and he was chatting it up and having a great time. And all of the girls that would approach him would always compliment his fragrance, and none of the other guys around him were getting compliments on their fragrances from the girls, right? So that night, he's like, my friends got salty. They asked me what I was wearing, and no joke, the next time he hung out with them, 2 or 3 of them bought Salt and Pepper and were wearing it. So he was like, that's an instance where you can gatekeep, but when somebody is seeing visually right in front of them what's happening when you're wearing a sexy fragrance and they want that sort of attention and they're not getting it, they're like, okay, what's the difference between me and this person? Okay, that's what they're wearing. These girls are starting a conversation based on how he smells. I want to wear that fragrance too. So that's an instance where not gatekeeping didn't really work in somebody's favor. But for me, this has been such a lovely scent. And like I always tell y'all, this is the fragrance you get when you only want compliments from women. If you like women, if you hang out with women, if you're social, such a no-brainer fragrance to have in your collection. Pepper and Broxton fragrance. The next scent I'm going to mention I don't have, but it's Herba Gold. Herba Gold I tried for the very first time in New York last year. And am I the biggest fan of that fragrance? No, but I did like it better than Herba Pura. I did one spray on my wrist right here and I was wearing a puffer jacket. And some of the juice got on my puffer jacket and it's strong. Literally the whole time I was in New York, which was just for 3 days, 3 to 4 days, I smelled like Herba Pura whenever I would throw on that puffer. It's crazy the performance that it had, right? So it was a loud scent. And then I met with somebody for the first time. They're like, dang, you smell really good. And I was like, okay, thank you so much. So that's just my short, sweet story with Herba Gold. I just think it's better balanced. I don't find it as synthetic and off-putting as Herba Pura. It is still synthetic though, but it's super, super loud. All right, the next fragrance I'm going to mention is Aqua Oud Precious Liquid. I'm telling y'all are going to be sick of this brand by the end of this video. I kid you not. Now, this is a story I have when I went to, you know what? I'm going to combine these two together. Blue Agave and Aqua Oud. Because there's one story that these two have in common. I decided to layer this when it was my birthday last year. I wore it and I went to go get some pho. Right, I went to go get some pho, but I ordered it to go. And the lady behind the counter, when I was placing the order and stuff like that, she said, I really like your perfume. That smells really nice. And I was like, oh, thank you. And she said, it's pretty strong. And then in my mind, I'm like, oh, dang, is it too much? Because sometimes, some people might say, oh, yeah, that's strong, as kind of an emphasis to be like, tone it down, because these have performance, all right? So I was like, oh, so I kind of backed up. I'm like, is it a bit too much? And she said, no, I really like it. And she leans over the counter like this, and she takes like 2 big whiffs. And she's like, yeah, that's so good. She's like, what are you wearing? And I tell her it's Aqua Oud Blue Agave. And again, like the very first lady I mentioned, or the lady at Costco, she was puzzled. She said, what is that? And I was like, it's a niche fragrance, and you kind of have a redundant sort of conversation with it. So I was like, yeah, it's not really the type of fragrance that you're gonna be able to find at Sephora or Macy's. And she's like, that's really good though. She's like, I've never smelled anything like that. And throughout our interaction, even after I paid, I was still talking to her a bit after that, and she would gradually still just kind of lean over the counter past the register and just like close her eyes and smell me. I was like, this is a great, it was a great birthday gift, you know, from a stranger. But Aqua Oud, if you saw my very first impression of this fragrance, it was a good impression, but I was nervous to try it because look, it's an oud scent. The juice is different. I was like, if this smells barnyardy, I'm gonna be pissed, right? But it turns out to be a unique beast mode summer fresh fragrance. No joke, it will last over 10 hours, no problem. And the oud is so smooth in this fragrance. To me, what it does is it just elevates it and it helps with the projection. It helps with the longevity. It gives it just a strong base for really good longevity. And this, by the way, will smell different on skin than it does on paper. On paper, I do find it more oud dominant, but on my skin, it's definitely more of that fresh scent, and then the oud is kind of there in the background. But this was a summer banger fragrance for me. Real quick, just because I'm mentioning this as well, this blue agave is double in concentration from the original one. So what I like about blue agave and the reason why it's super recommendable is because it's very likable. It's nothing challenging. This to me is more of the challenging fragrance. I think for the niche heads that kind of want something a little more complex, go for something like Aqua Oud. But if you're somebody that wants the straight up sexy, easygoing mass appeal, then go for something like blue agave. And the reason I don't talk about this as much and I don't wear it as much is because I know somebody that rocks it as their signature scent. Sure, it might be the original 50 ml one, but I'm like, you know what? If I know that's your signature and I have a good amount of fragrances to pick from, I'm not going to touch that, right? That's just me being respectful with it. But blue agave, it smells like this sort of environment. Imagine you're at the beach, you're taking body shots, it's the summertime, and the tequila is coursing through your veins, and it's just like a summer fling. That's really what like the vibe I get with something like blue agave. So I like the way they balance each other out, but I am somebody that prefers just straight up wearing one fragrance instead of layering two different scents. The only time I would typically layer is if I have something like Molecula One. But when I did wear this on my birthday, I got that awesome compliment. Now, this one by itself, I wore it to, it's not a rager. It was a day party. It was a day party. It was outdoors. It was in the summertime again. I think it was maybe a couple weeks after my birthday or something. And yeah, I was at this party and I hugged this girl because I was meeting somebody, and she was like, she just held on to me and she was just smelling my neck. She's like, "Oh, you smell so good. Like, what is that?" And then we kind of got into that conversation. So that is something that is great about fragrances, is they're good conversation starters. You know, if you see somebody you're attracted to and they smell great, you can always compliment them and say that. But in this instance, I was hugging somebody and she really liked the scent, and then the conversation went in a good sort of way. So this one, very likable, very much a standout scent. It's not a safe fragrance though. So just know that, keep that in mind, all right? Beast mode. This one is also beast mode, again, double in concentration from the original, so it lasts even longer. Now, the next fragrance I am going to mention is Sid Drop by Mancera. The OGs know that I got complimented on this fragrance when I was in Little Caesars. I was at a pizza joint because I called in my pizza to go. Like to call in things to go, you know. But I was just at the pizza shop and I got a compliment from somebody at the pizza shop. They're like, "Oh yeah, you smell nice. This thing projects." All right, this thing is a pretty loud fragrance, but look at this. This is the twist cap, all right? The newer versions of this fragrance are a magnetic cap, and they don't perform over a day like this one does on my skin. The newer ones perform noticeably between 6 to 7 hours, which is still good for a fresh fragrance, but in comparison to this one, not so much. And I think somebody told me recently on my live that the reason Sid Drop got reformulated is because apparently there's a note in this fragrance that was, I think it got banned in 2022 or something. It was dangerous. Maybe it was something about infertility. I'm really not sure, but that was a major thing. So they reformulated the fragrance, but the performance for a freshie is still good with the newer one that came out, but they also released an intense. So if you're worried, you could just straight up get the intense, I guess, even though I haven't tried that one. But yeah, this one, compliments at the pizza parlor. And it's so funny. Whenever I tell that story, I would get comments from other people in my comment section saying that they would get complimented on their Sid Drop when they were at fast food joints as well. And I just find that really funny. So this is the fast food compliment getter right here, Sid Drop. The next fragrance, I didn't bring it out, Dior Sauvage Elixir. Elixir got me a compliment when I was getting my eyebrows threaded. Yeah, it was my turn to go sit. I was doing this, if you guys have ever gotten your eyebrows threaded. And the lady that was threading my eyebrows was like, wow, I like your perfume. She was just like over me like that. I was like, thanks so much. She's like, what is it? I said, it's Dior Elixir. And she said, is that Coach? And I was like, oh no, it's the brand Dior. And she says, yeah, that's nice. She's like, you smell good. So like, even when I would move to my next eyebrow, she would just like keep smelling. She's like, that smells so good. I'm like, you know what? I don't know why I'm acting it out in front of you guys right here, but I was like, I appreciate that. I'm glad that you like my fragrance. So Sauvage Elixir, to me, is my favorite Sauvage in the line, but it's not the Sauvage I would recommend to y'all. It's not the most recommendable. I would say if you want to go for Sauvage, go for the EDP because it has versatility. The Elixir is more of a grown scent. I know a lot of teenagers, when they hear me talk about how I like the Elixir and my experiences with it, they're like, oh yeah, I want to get the Elixir then. It's stronger and it's sexier, it gets compliments and stuff. But I do find it to be more of a 25 and up sort of fragrance. The EDP can work when you're a teenager, but it can also work if you, like, the older you get, you know? So that's just what I would recommend. And it kind of has a Christmas tree sort of smell and some lavender that makes it a little bit different than the other Sauvages. You know, it does have the typical Sauvage blue DNA Ambroxan-like smell, but I like the Christmas tree vibe that pops off on my skin, maybe the pine tree vibe. All right, last but not least, Elysium by Raja Parfums. This is my empty bottle of Elysium, the very first fragrance that I finished since I started this fragrance journey a couple of years ago. And this one got me a compliment. I think I told you all this story. I was at a party and I had one too many drinks. This is like my most memorable story with this fragrance. I had one too many drinks with it. And word got around that I reviewed fragrances and I would talk about fragrances. And I was with this group of people because I went outside and I was yakking because I was nauseous and stuff like that. And somebody was holding my hair back and they're like, hey, don't worry, Melissa, like, you still smell really good. And then everybody in that group was super supportive and they each took turns leaning in to smell my neck while so I would yak and then I'd be like, oh, and they're like, yeah, you still smell good. And they would smell me. And even in my drunken state, I was like, I'm going to make this a core memory because I have to make a video on this. This is a once in a lifetime experience. There are going to be people in this world that will never experience this moment ever in their lives. That's just how unique it is. I don't know how many people have been complimented on their fragrance while they were yakking, and a group of like 6 people were just taking turns to smell them. So Elysium has a very special place in my heart. I haven't used this fragrance since I finished the bottle of it. I opened the second bottle, but I'm really trying to, wear my other scents. And, I know I have my backup bottle there if I ever do want to wear it again. But it's very fruity. It's a grapefruit. That's not it. No. I'm blanking. It is grapefruit though. Grapefruit, juniper berry. That's what it is. Because on me, it smells like a pineapple lemon cocktail. But there's not pineapple listed in this fragrance. It's just the way that the smell plays off on my skin. But it's fun. It's a very, I just bit my tongue, a very crowd pleaser-esque scent. Like with women, with men, people love Elysium on me. Strangers or people in person, right? With something like Salt and Pepper, that's specifically with women. With Aqua Oud, also more with women. With Blue Agave, also more with women. With Sid Drop, both. With Oudwood, leans more with the women, but there have been guys that complimented me on that fragrance as well. I would say this one is for everybody, was just loving on this one, regardless of the gender. But anyways, y'all, again, the discount codes, discount links, if you want to check out these fragrances, in the comment section below. And in case you forwarded that part of the video, if you do use any of the discount codes, not the one for the sale, but the other codes that I have listed there, I do get a slight bit of commission. So please buy where you're comfortable. If you don't like the idea of that, you can buy it at retail, or you can find another spot that has it. But I will say that is the cheapest way to get your hands on a fragrance like Precious Liquid's Salt and Pepper. All right, let me know in the comment section below what scents have worked wonders for you and what fragrances have gotten you compliments from strangers. And I hope that y'all have a great day. Take care. Bye.